camera a little till we get a pretty good angle. I think that's fairly good. Hey, and welcome. And I'll probably end up standing up later to catch comments and chat with you a little bit. But today is very unusual because I'm inviting you into my office, which is not my typical filming space. However, still I'm Susan of Stitched by Susan. You're seeing one of my quilts behind me. And this is where a lot of the behind the scenes sort of magic happens. I don't know if it's magic, but hard work, let's just say. And I thought you guys might be interested in seeing what some of this looks like. As I'm gearing up to launch into a boot camp or training series of sessions, that's one of the things on my horizon. And as I'm fixing in a few weeks' time to launch my freehand quilting masterclass again and to open up the enrollment, that's another thing on the horizon. So there's a lot of behind the scenes flowchart type work that goes into these things. Thought you might want to see some of it. So here's kind of my setup at my desk. I work on a laptop, generally speaking, and I have a secondary monitor because I often have multiple things that I need to be going back and forth between. So that gives me the availability of having a much larger working space than is just on my desktop. And I'm just gonna check through and make sure the chat window is open. I think so. I'm not seeing any comments, so I'm a little bit curious. Somebody give me a thumbs up or some sign that you're in fact hearing and seeing me. I do have a microphone on and my sound check looks like it's working. I'm getting little green bars, so that's all good. Meantime, oh, there we go. Some of you are chiming in. Great. Just wanted to be really sure. You never know when you go live, am I right? Anyway, here's kind of my setup. The laptop, the secondary monitor. I'm working on video editing too, so I have this handy little microphone with a little, foam on it, and it's all feels like professional looking, and it's how I get things done. So many of you probably know this, but a few of you maybe don't. Here are some of the things that I do. I quilt, of course, for people at a long arm quilting machine. I live stream those quilting episodes, and that is where a lot of you know me from. Usually on a Friday morning, once or twice a month. We have several camera angles, and that of course is in my quilting studio. And my husband helps with that one because it takes two people, me to quilt and him to man the various cameras and scenes and troubleshoot as we go. That gets aired on YouTube. I also produce some pre-recorded YouTube episodes. So I record them, I hire someone to edit them because that is quite a bit of work, and editing is not my strong skill set. So that's kind of YouTube. Also, I have a monthly subscription membership. And in that membership, new content is delivered or provided for the students every month. So that means every month I produce at least 2 more pre-recorded videos. And I tend to edit those myself. And that's what you're seeing on my laptop here, some video editing software, because I film a thing as I'm working on it, or sometimes my husband, Mr. Producer, helps me film it. But most often then I go back and add my voiceover or explanation after, because sometimes I can't quilt and teach in the same breath. Do you know what I mean? So I do the quilting and then I go back and add the teaching. So I do a lot of that, and I add in the music and regulate the sound and all those pretty things. That's about as far as my editing skills go. Let's see what else. Some of the things that I have on the go today would be email organization. So I said earlier that a lot of what I do is kind of like flowchart organization. So I'll give you an example. The boot camp that's coming up, which I'll tell you a bit more about in a minute, it's called Stitch Confident Boot Camp. It is a series of live trainings and sessions surrounding that topic of forming beautiful stitches and troubleshooting stitch issues. But in the background, what this looks like, and this is just part of it, this is a quick overview for you. In the background, what it looks like is I create a sign-up form that asks you for your name and email address. Everyone that signs up for that form or registers for the boot camp gets put in a segment in my email list, almost like a folder in your filing cabinet. And now everybody in that folder will get emailed a welcome email, and then they'll get a reminder a couple days before and a couple hours before and 15 minutes before, and they'll have the links to the bootcamp sessions, which I've pre-set up. So all those things are, like I said, it's very like a flow chart in the background. It's kind of if this, then that, and it happens to this person. And all of that, I and Erin, my assistant, work on that in the background. So that's frankly what I spend far more time doing than actual quilting, because it really, really does take time. And if you took the time to read the description of this video, I took a little bit of time typing it in because I wanted to be clear about it and why it is that I do this. A lot of hobbyists will hesitate over forming a business from what they do because it can take the joy and the fun out of the hobby. And frankly, I've considered that too. Is this what I want to do with my quilting? Make it into a business. But here's the thing. I have a mission, and my mission is to, my passion, frankly, is to help quilters, machine quilters, build confidence and build skills. And so in order to make that mission happen, all of these things come into play. So it's not enough for me to just quilt. And I feel like, and this is my personal choice, this is not for everyone. It's kind of like the old saying, you know, teach a man to fish. So give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, teach a man to fish and he'll never be hungry again. I feel a little like that with my quilting. I could quilt more for customers. Yes, I absolutely could. But I can make a much broader impact if I will teach others to quilt for themselves and for their customers. So that's what I've opted to do. So now let's see if we can do this. I'm going to stand up a little bit so that I can read the comments. And I'm sorry, my camera always wobbles when I do this. I just don't know how to get past that. Seeing you and hellos. Awesome, awesome. Diane, Lori, Mary, and Virginia. Fabrication quilting. Oh, I like that. Sandra is asking, does this work for mid-arm quilting? Hey, you must be talking about the boot camp now, Sandra. So let me take a sec and talk about that. And I'll just stay standing because it's easier. The upcoming boot camp is called Stitch Confident. And like I said, it's initially about what makes beautiful stitches, how they're formed, all the different things, the fibers, the needles, the tension, all the things that affect those beautiful stitches. And then establishing baseline good tension at your machine, whichever one you stitch on. And to answer your question, I'm most knowledgeable about long arms, but this also applies to mid arms and right down to your domestic sewing machine. Many of these principles and troubleshooting solutions apply across the board through sewing machines and quilting machines. And then finally, our last training in the boot camp, we'll be doing some experimentation. So some different types of fibers or different weights of thread or different types of fabrics and how you would start out to make those adjustments. Debbie, thank you so much. I've learned so much from you and gained confidence. That makes me so happy, Debbie, because that is why I do what I do. You know, I said in the description, it's not very glamorous, and it's not. I sit here typing at my keyboard, and it's not very glamorous and showy, but it does accomplish my mission, and so that's the key. And by the way, tip for you guys, if any of you have these areas of your business or even your hobby that aren't particularly glamorous, I read a book, and I'm trying to think, it's by Ali Abdaal, and it's called Feel Good Productivity. And his tip was to find a way to make your less than exciting tasks enjoyable. So some of my ways are, many of you know, I'm an absolute coffee nut. So I'll have a good and a fresh cup of coffee. I do keep my water and my limes beside me to stay hydrated too. And I usually will light a candle when I'm working in my office. And that just, to me, makes a pleasant environment to work in. I'm also a little bit anal, ask my husband, about keeping my office clutter-free, because nothing makes me more, I don't know, less feeling like working than to walk into a jumbled, messy, paper-strewn office in the morning when I know I've got to get focused and get some emails done. That's today's task, by the way. So last night, I tidied up the office from my day's work so that when I come in the morning, I've got a nice green plant and I light my candle and everything's kind of peaceful and I'm set up to work in pleasant surroundings. So that's a great tip. If you've got whatever you're working on, if you've got things that you've just got to power through, sometimes just setting up something that makes it more happy can help. Okay, let's see if we've got more comments coming in.